Hello and welcome to the Sketching Greyhound. Thank you so much for dropping by. Don't mind him, that's just Jesse saying hi to his pack. If you want to be a member of his pack, I guess you have to subscribe and ring that bell for the new videos. Anyway, we are talking about the second episode of Big Bang Theory today, and there's quite a lot we have to talk about there. So let's go. Okay, this is an episode where I think a couple of lines are probably crossed that should not have been crossed. So there are a couple of things that could trigger you. So I hope it's not too bad, but let's jump into it. And we start quite tame because the first thing we will learn in this episode actually is that Howard is allergic to nuts, which is something that is very steady and happening all the time. More or less, or at least used for one or the other laugh.
Pad thai, no peanut.
Does it have peanut oil?
I'm not sure. Everyone keep an eye on Howard in case he starts to swell up.
However, we have one of those weird laugh tracks again, which I do not really fully understand. I mean, epinephrine is very usual for very bad allergic reactions. Sheldon is offering his epinephrine he's normally using for bee stings, so he seems to be allergic against bee stings, or he's just super careful. Would fit to Sheldon, but he's offering his epinephrine.
Since it's not bee season, you can have my epinephrine.
And there is a laughing track, I'm not sure why. And the same about Howard's reaction, he feels like there might have been something with nuts in there.
Do I look puffy? I feel puffy.
He's hypochondriac, so that's probably the first time we are seeing that. And then we're setting up the episode.
Hey, Leonard.
Oh, hi, Penny.
Am I interrupting?
No.
Penny does want something from Leonard, and of course, he's not really against that. He's quite ready to accept whatever is coming.
Anyways, I was wondering if you could help me out with something. I'm
Yes.
kind of...
But first, there's also something interesting. Penny is working for the Cheesecake Factory. We had that already in the first episode. Funnily enough, this is more or less free advertisement for the Cheesecake Factory.
So you're coming home from work. That's great. How was work?
Well, you know, it's a cheesecake factory. People order cheesecake and I bring it to them.
There never were any agreements or official mentionings or nothing, really. So they're mentioning the Cheesecake Factory, but the building and everything itself, it looks very different to a regular Cheesecake Factory. Not that I have been in many, there are none around here. But anyway, there were no official agreements on this. It is free advertisement, but it also gives, of course, a little bit more freedom. So mentionings like this would probably not have happened if there was money involved.
Call it whatever you want. I get minimum wage.
We learn actually a lot about Howard already in the beginning of this episode. He can speak a lot of languages. He has shown that already in the first one.
I'm sorry?
Haven't you ever been told how beautiful you are in flawless Russian?
That shows that he is quite intelligent and quite knowledgeable. Doesn't make him less of a terrible person, though.
Cheesecake-scented goddess.
Anyway, the episode is set up. Penny does want something from Leonard. He should help her accept some furniture that's coming for her new apartment. And of course, he has to be able to put it into the apartment, so...
Here's my spare key. Thank you.
But there is something else to point out. The nerds are inviting Penny for a Superman marathon.
A marathon? Wow, how many Superman movies are there?
You're kidding, right?
And there's something that Sheldon wants to talk about in terms of scientific accuracy.
You realize that scene was rife with scientific inaccuracy.
Yes, I know men can't fly.
No, let's assume that they can.
But while the writers try to make this sound pretty scientific and knowledgeable and everything, there is a pretty big mistake in what Sheldon is listing here.
Lois Lane is falling, accelerating at an initial rate of 32 feet per second. Superman swoops down to save her.
You better get your nerd facts right if you're making a show about and also for nerds.
Easy, miss. I've got you.
You've got me! Who's got you?
A truly great and surprisingly funny movie, actually. So if you haven't seen that, check it out. Anyway, everything is said and done about that, so we're moving on to the next day, or whenever this is happening. The furniture is being delivered. Leonard signs without really waiting for them to get it up there where they should bring it.
Her apartment's on the 4th floor, but the elevator's broken, so you're gonna have to... Are you just gonna be done? Okay, cool, thanks.
The delivery person just needs that signature, of course, so off they go. Quite relatable, actually, I would say. I think that's internationally normal that things like that happen. Also to mention, the elevator is broken. Did you hear that? That is something that plays smaller or a bigger role here and there, again and again in the whole series. Anyway, the nerds carry the furniture upstairs, which does not give us too much, but a couple of jokes about their limited physical capacity.
I don't have this. I don't have this. I do not have this.
I think with a series like this, it is pretty redundant to point out all the cliches. You know, I think I shouldn't mention it too often, but here it stands out, especially in the beginning. The nerds are weak, and whatever in this package, it's not that big. It cannot be that heavy that a little bit of an angle already makes Leonard break down. And you can throw in another comic book reference.
Do you have any ideas?
Yes, but they all involve a Green Lantern and a power ring.
To make it extra nerdy. But here also already enter a quite stereotypical view on male, female, and what men want in this case.
Men do things for women without expecting sex.
Those would be men who just had sex.
I think it's pretty cheap, and it's pretty strange actually that Sheldon is pointing this out, because he definitely, at least later, does not really follow those rules. We have been talking about in the first episode that he's kind of flirting there, so this non-sexual Sheldon has not yet been developed. So that's probably why he is pointing this out like this here. Sometimes you have to remind yourself, this is already also 13, 14 years old, something like that. So I'm not sure they would have made it this way today. I would hope so. And then the main conflict of the episode is established.
Great, Caesar's ghost, look at this place.
Sheldon basically enters the apartment for the very first time since Penny has moved in. And it's just not extremely clean, or at least not tidied up.
So Penny's a little messy.
A little messy? The Mandelbrot set of complex numbers is a little messy. This is chaos.
And he definitely should not have entered my apartment when I was going to university. But then we have another point that is a little bit unfortunate. They are labeling the tenant before Penny as the transvestite.
When the transvestite lived here, you didn't care how he kept the place.
Implying that that is the big characteristic that they call him by. That's honestly a little bit sad. Anyway, I would almost call that a minor transgression, because now we get into the thick of the episode. In the night, after everything is more or less said and done, looks like Leonard has not given back the key to Penny's apartment to Penny, which is a little bit strange because Penny just appeared directly while they were still in her apartment. So why didn't they give the key back? But anyway, Sheldon has access to that key and access to his very neurotic brain, so he decides to go over there and clean the apartment up. And that is not only a little bit creepy. I mean, let's ignore for a second that he is not really going through it very methodically. If you look what he's doing, it's very random. It does not fit Sheldon at all, but that really pales in contrast to what here is actually happening. If you think about it, it is just so terribly creepy. If you ask me, this could have, for a lot of people, this might have been the very last episode they have seen. I think they made a great job in making this look not as bad as it is, but if you just think about it enough, you realize how crazy this is. And even now, Lena joins not too much later.
Sheldon! Penny's sleeping.
And he tries all the time to get him to stop doing it and come back, but he fails. And it becomes very clear that this is a very compulsive thing from Sheldon that he cannot really control.
I had no choice. I couldn't sleep knowing that just outside my bedroom was our living room, and just outside our living room was that hallway, and immediately adjacent to that hallway was this.
And if you ask me, doing something like this, doing such a stunt, without Leonard doing really anything about this violating of personal space of a new person, new neighbor that's coming along, he's not dangerous, but this is still very invasive. Yeah, I'm not sure if I'm taking it just too hard right now, but rewatching this with really looking at it for some kind of commentary really made it stand out for me to be really intense. Yes, it's a comedy series, okay, but this is terrible. It's not that extreme later, and yes, I love the characters and the series, and this is quite far of an interpretation, perhaps. I don't know, but also kind of not. Let me know what you think down in the comments. I'm really interested in hearing what you think about this. If you think that I'm too harsh here or not harsh enough, let me know. So Leonard doesn't really know how to cope with the situation, and I kind of get that, because this is really an extreme situation. And what do you do in this case? He cannot restrain Sheldon or whatever. We have established that they do not really have a lot of physical prowess. So anyway, so his solution is helping Sheldon so that they can leave as soon as possible.
If you have time to lean, you have time to clean.
Oh, what the hell?
It's a bit very strange, but let's accept that for now, and even accept that Leonard really does not want this to happen, and he wants to stop it somehow. So yes, you definitely see that. Did that make it much better? I don't think so. I don't know. Well, we're moving on to the next morning. They have managed to clean, it seems, without getting caught in the process. And of course, Sheldon has fulfilled his mission, so he is quite happy and satisfied with himself.
I have to say, I slept splendidly.
Penny, not so much, obviously, and she has, I think, quite appropriate reaction, actually.
Penny's up.
You came into my apartment last night while I was sleeping?
Yes, but only to clean.
Really more to organize. You're not actually dirty, per se.
And this I also do not really get. Leonard is not using his best defense in this moment. He doesn't really even point out that he tried to stop Sheldon and he couldn't help himself. So this explanation, it somewhat makes sense, I think. And it would have, not in that moment, but later on, it would have helped. But he never really has to take that out of his bag and use that as a defense. We will come to the conclusion later on. But he never really has to tell her that he actually tried to stop him or something. Which I also find strange. Although you can argue that as the stereotypical nerd they are portraying him as, he is overwhelmed by the situation also. He sees the rage in Penny. He's probably not used to reacting and interacting with people with this kind of rage. I mean, he also very much realizes how bad it really is. You can see that in the way he is wording this here.
Later today, when you're feeling a little less, for lack of a better word, violated, maybe we could talk about this some more.
But Penny still continues with the very appropriate reaction.
Stay away from me.
And while I think this is actually quite heavy stuff, we cannot forget to talk about a little other stuff that is happening here in this episode. Like, you can see that Sheldon, when he is going over to Penny to apologize because Leonard has told him to do so,
I have a master's and 2 PhDs. I should not have to do this.
he's not using yet his obsessive-compulsive knocking ritual. I think that's worth being pointed out. And then, actually, we are already upon the conclusion of the episode. It is a bit sad, actually. Penny is meeting Raj in the stairway, and she's talking to him, and obviously it's established he is not able to talk to women, so he's not really interacting with her. So she is talking to herself and just convincing herself, because she's getting out of a breakup right now, and she has a lot of interactions with bad people and bad men and bad experiences, that she should not see Leonard and Sheldon in the same light and give them a chance, which in general, from coming from a standpoint, she perhaps has some bad experiences and she should not project it onto them, would be valid if they would not have done something really bad, something creepy, something so invasive. It doesn't hold up. This conclusion is not good enough. There should be more. At least some kind of conversation about Leonard saying, see, Sheldon has these issues. She's saying, okay, he has these issues. He should do something about that, but I understand you wanted to stop him. Something like that. But no, that's just not happening. She comes to this conclusion herself.
I mean, just because most of the men I've known in my life happen to be jerks, doesn't mean I should just assume Leonard and Sheldon are. Right?
And the random reaction of Raj is completely enough for her to accept her own conclusion here. Although it is really a random reaction, he did not really listen to her.
She asked me a question. I should probably nod.
That's exactly what I thought. Thank you for listening. You're a doll.
Because we needed to put in kind of another stereotypical joke about Raj's nationality.
Freaking me out.
Munna munna ba, soja ba ba.
So all Raj is doing is nodding and Penny is forgiving Sheldon and Leonard, something quite extreme. Short scene of the nerds playing video games and actually something quite physical, so... I am actually missing those dancing games. I did not play it much, but I had one of those mats. And it's actually pretty fun. I was never nearly as good as how it is shown here to be, but I liked it. Let me check actually if there is something out like that right now. I don't think so. Let's see. Well, everything I can see here right now is 360, which is quite an old Xbox. Let's check PlayStation. There is a Just Dance 2021 for PlayStation 4, so... And those mats are actually nothing else but a replacement for a regular controller, so it should actually work. Anyway, second episode, and something else is introduced that they are using a lot. Homosexual tension humor between Raj and Howard.
Hugged you? How'd she hug you?
Is that her perfume I smell?
They're using this a lot for a long time. And it gets almost a little bit annoying and stereotypical, and I'm not sure if this is crossing a line. I mean, we will probably look through some more episodes together and we can discuss that at a later point in time. But if you already have an opinion on that, let me know down in the comment and we can discuss this a little bit more. Anyway, Penny is coming home and Leonard decides to give it a go to apologize for her, handing her over a letter that he has written. But because she's already there and she's opening the door, he is reading that letter to her. Of course, it's completely convoluted. It is very nerdy. He describes a lot of scientific stories that have to do with regret. So it's just talking about regret. I think it's actually kind of nice that he is not searching for any excuses, but just saying this was bad. So on that scale, it's pretty nice how he's doing that. She's stopping him anyway and is saying, we're fine, without further discussion.
Another example from the field of Ebola research.
Leonard,
Yeah.
we're okay.
And while I like to think that at some point in time, not too far away from this situation, they are off screen talking about this and sorting this out. This is not enough, I think, to resolve this situation for the viewer. I mean, I never had a big issue with this before I look closer at it now for also this episode. I've seen this so often. I didn't really think about it, but if you think a little bit about it, it is really bad. Anyway, Penny is a hands-on person. They show that to us in one of the last scenes of this episode.
Hey, I rebuilt a tractor engine when I was like 12. I think I could put together a cheap Swedish media center.
That also stays like this. See, she is much more hands-on than the nerds are, which is actually kind of nice, that she's very practical and very good at that stuff, it seems. So that's a redeeming quality of this episode. But I have ranted now a lot about this situation, and that I think it's really, if you really think about it, it is quite a light-hearted approach to a very serious topic. And I think they could have handled it so much better, not just focused on joke, 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 and then not on a satisfying resolution. But as I said, I would love to hear your opinion on this. So let me know down in the comments, or join my Discord, come over there and let us discuss there. You can find the link tree down in the comments, also to my Instagram account, Twitter, all that stuff. So let's discuss this. I really would like to hear what you're thinking about that. But that, I think, still, we're good for now. Let's close this chapter, this episode, and look at the picture that I've drawn. Well, let me say that I am not the happiest camper out there about this picture. But look at this quality that I have to work with. I always complain. Let me show you. This is the level of detail that the picture has when I take it right out of the episode and I'm not using promo shots or something like that. So yeah, when I look at that, I am actually pretty okay with the outcome. Not too happy still around the eyes. Not really ideal, but what can you do? The hair is nice, once again. But other than that, it looked very cartoony in the beginning, doesn't look like that anymore. So yeah, that's what we have now. That's our result. That is our Sheldon. Well, I already told you I'm not the happiest camper with this one, but regarding the circumstances, it's okay. Let me know what you think about it down in the comments. Let me know what you think about the episode also. Looking forward to seeing that. And I'm looking forward to seeing you again in the next video. Thank you very much for dropping by. I see you later and goodbye.